The Mojave's radioactive wind carries the stench of ash and rot, and in its wake walks a figure out of a nightmare. His skin is charred and peeling, his eyes glowing with a sickly yellow hue, his voice a graveled rasp that sounds like it's been scraped raw by centuries of dust. He wears a tattered duster, a cowboy hat pulled low over his face, and a revolver holstered at his hip, tools of a trade that died with the old world. This is the ghoul, but to call him a monster is to miss the point. To call him a hero is to lie. He is a ghost, a man who died in the nuclear fire of 2007, yet refused to stay dead. A man who has seen the best of humanity burn and the worst of it thrive. A man whose soul is scarred not by radiation, but by a century of loss, betrayal, and the slow, agonizing death of everything he ever loved. The Fallout TV show 2024 doesn't just introduce the ghoul as a supporting character, he is the show's moral shadow, a living embodiment of the Wasteland's cruelty and the old world's failures. Portrayed with bone-chilling depth by Walton Goggins, the ghoul-born Cooper Howard is a study in contradiction, ruthless yet compassionate, nihilistic yet driven by vengeance, a monster who was once a man. His journey forces us to confront uncomfortable truths about what it means to survive when everything you value is gone, and whether the cost of survival is ever worth paying. This is not just the story of a mutant in a post-nuclear world. It is the story of a man broken by history, and the ways in which pain can turn even the kindest soul into a stranger. 1. A century of scars, the making of a nihilist. To understand the ghoul, you must first understand the man he was, Cooper Howard, a pre-war cowboy actor and war hero, beloved by millions for his roles as a noble, gunslinging defender of justice. Cooper's life was a portrait of old-world idealism, a beautiful wife, Barb, a young daughter, Janie, a career that made him a household name, and a nation that looked up to him as a symbol of American grit and virtue. But beneath the glitz and glamour, Cooper's world was already rotting. The old world's greed, corruption, and obsession with war were eating away at its foundations, and Cooper, like most people, chose not to see it. Vault-Tec, the corporation that would later build the underground vaults to preserve humanity, saw in Cooper a valuable asset, a trusted face to sell their lies. They hired him as their spokesperson, paying him handsomely to star in commercials that promised safety and security in the event of nuclear war. Cooper believed in Vault-Tec's mission. He believed that the vaults were a lifeline for humanity. He even bought his family a spot in Vault 33, convinced that they would be safe when the bombs fell. But what Cooper didn't know, what no one knew, was that Vault-Tec was not just preparing for the war. They were helping to start it. The corporation's executives had colluded with world governments to trigger the nuclear apocalypse, viewing it as a social experiment to study human behavior in extreme conditions. Cooper's face, his voice, his reputation, all of it was used to lull the public into a false sense of security while the world burned around them. The Great War of 2007 changed everything. Cooper was on set filming a Western when the bombs fell. He watched as the sky turned red, as skyscrapers crumbled, as the world he knew vanished in a flash of fire. He raced home to find his neighborhood in ruins, his house gone, his wife and daughter nowhere to be found. For weeks, he searched the ashes, clinging to the hope that Barb and Janie had made it to Vault 33. But when he finally reached the vault, he found its doors sealed shut. Vault-Tec had betrayed him. They had used his trust, his fame, his love for his family to sell a lie, and now his family was dead, trapped outside while the privileged few inside survived. The radiation from the bombs did not kill Cooper. It transformed him. His skin burned and peeled, his body mutated, his lifespan extended to unnatural lengths. He became a ghoul, a creature feared and hated by Wastelanders, viewed as a reminder of the war's horror. But the physical transformation was nothing compared to the psychological one. Cooper Howard died that day in the ashes of his neighborhood. In his place rose the ghoul, a man who had lost everything and who would spend the next 230 years learning that loss was the only constant in the wasteland. The centuries that followed only deepened his scars. He watched as survivors turned on each other, fighting over scraps of food and water. He saw raiders rape and pillage, settlements burn, and hope die, a slow, painful death. He was betrayed by people he trusted, attacked by those he tried to help, and forced to kill to stay alive. He learned that kindness was a weakness, that trust was a death sentence, and that hope was a delusion. The old world's idealism, the justice, the honor, the love that Cooper had once embodied was nothing more than a fairy tale. The only truth in the wasteland was survival, and the only way to survive was to be cruel. By the time we meet the ghoul in the show, he is a nihilist. He believes that the world is irredeemable, that humanity is inherently evil, and that nothing matters except staying alive long enough to get his revenge. His targets? Vault-Tec. He has spent decades searching for the GECK Garden of Eden creation kit, a pre-war device that he believes holds the key to punishing the corporation that destroyed his life. For the ghoul, vengeance is not just a goal. It is the only thing that keeps him going. It is the only thing that gives his empty, endless life meaning. These scars are not just part of his backstory. They are etched into every choice he makes, every word he speaks, every act of cruelty he commits. The ghoul is not a monster because he wants to be. He is a monster because the world made him one. A century of pain and betrayal does not just change a person. It erases them, and in their place, it leaves something hard, cold, and unrecognizable. The end justifies the means, ruthlessness as survival. The ghoul's moral code is simple. If brutal, the end justifies the means. If killing a raider gets him closer to the GECK, he kills. If stealing supplies from a starving settlement keeps him alive, he steals. If lying to Lucy, the naive vault dweller he reluctantly teams up with, helps him achieve his goals, he lies. To the ghoul, morality is a luxury, one that died with the old world. In the Wasteland, there are no good choices. There are only choices that let you keep going, and choices that let you die. His ruthless methods are on full display from the moment we meet him. When a group of raiders tries to rob him, he does not negotiate. He does not hesitate. He draws his revolver and shoots them down one by one, his face expressionless. He then loots their bodies for supplies, not out of greed, but out of necessity. They would have killed you, he tells Lucy later, when she expresses horror at his actions. I saved your life. To the ghoul, this is not cruelty. It is practicality. It is the way the Wasteland works. Another example of his moral calculus comes when he and Lucy are captured by Mojave, a former Vault-Tec scientist who also wants the GECK. Mojave threatens to kill Lucy unless the ghoul hands over the device. The ghoul's first instinct is not to save Lucy. It is to weigh his options. Lucy is useful to him. She knows the location of Vault 33, where the GECK is hidden, but if he gives up the GECK, his decades-long quest for vengeance will be over. For a moment, he hesitates, but when Mojave raises her gun to Lucy's head, the ghoul acts. He shoots Mojave in the head, killing her instantly, then turns to Lucy and says, "Told you I'd keep you alive." Mostly. This moment is quintessential. The ghoul, ruthless, efficient, and morally ambiguous. He saves Lucy's life, but not out of compassion. He saves her because she is a tool he needs. Yet there is a flicker of something else in his actions, a reluctance to let an innocent die, even if she is just a means to an end. It is a small crack in his nihilistic armor, a hint that the man he once was is still there, buried under centuries of pain. The ghoul's pursuit of vengeance also leads him to make choices that cross lines even by Wasteland standards. He tracks down former Vault-Tec executives, now also ghouls, having survived the war, torturing them for information about the GECK. He burns down settlements that refuse to help him, kills anyone who gets in his way, and even betrays allies if it advances his mission. To the ghoul, these actions are not evil. They are justice. Vault-Tec destroyed his life, his family, his world. He believes that they deserve to suffer as he has suffered. But the cost of this justice is high. The ghoul's vengeance consumes him. It isolates him. It makes him a stranger to himself. He has spent so long chasing the past that he has forgotten how to live in the present. He has become the very thing he hates, a monster who hurts others to get what he wants. When he finally finds the GECK, he is faced with a choice: use it to destroy Vault-Tec or use it to heal the Wasteland. For a moment, he wavers. He thinks of his wife, his daughter, the life they could have had. He thinks of Lucy and the naive hope she still carries. He thinks of the man he once was, a man who believed in justice, not revenge. In the end, the ghoul chooses neither. He destroys the GECK, realizing that vengeance will not bring his family back and that healing the Wasteland is a fool's errand. It is a moment of quiet despair, a recognition that all his pain, all his suffering, all his cruelty has been for nothing. The end does not justify the means. The end is just more pain. 30. A mirror to our world, grievance, survival, and the thin line between good and evil. The ghoul is more than just a compelling character. He is a mirror held up to our own world, forcing us to confront uncomfortable truths about human nature when pushed to its limits. His evil actions, his violence, his cruelty, his lack of empathy are not the product of inherent malice. They are the product of grief, trauma, and a world that has repeatedly failed him. The ghoul story asks, what would you become if everything you loved was taken from you? If you were betrayed by the people you trusted most? If you had to fight to survive every day for 230 years? Would you stay kind? Would you stay human? Would you stay human, or would you become a monster? In our own world, we see echoes of the ghoul struggle everywhere. We see people who have been broken by trauma, abuse, war, poverty, turn to anger, violence, or cynicism as a defense mechanism. We see people who have been betrayed by institutions, governments, corporations, religions, lose faith in humanity, and retreat into nihilism. We see people who are just trying to survive, making choices that others might judge as evil because they have no other options. The ghoul's character does not excuse these actions, but it explains them. It helps us understand that the line between good and evil is not a bright, clear divide. It is a thin, shifting line, one that can be crossed in an instant when pain and despair take over. The ghoul also forces us to confront the role of institutions in shaping human behavior. Vault-Tec's betrayal of Cooper Howard is not just a plot point. It is a metaphor for the way in which corporations and governments often prioritize profit and power over human life. In the old world, Vault-Tec used Cooper's trust to sell lies. In our world, we see corporations selling products that harm people, governments lying to their citizens, and powerful people exploiting the vulnerable, all in the name of progress or security. The ghoul's vengeance is not just against Vault-Tec. It is against a system that values greed over compassion, power over justice, and lies over truth. His anger is our anger. His despair is our despair. His struggle is our struggle. But perhaps the most uncomfortable truth the ghoul reveals is that we are all capable of becoming him. We all have a breaking point. We all have the potential to be cruel when we are hurt, to be selfish when we are scared, to lose faith when we are betrayed. The difference between us and the ghoul is not that we are inherently better. It is that most of us have not been pushed to that breaking point. Most of us have not lost everything. Most of us still have hope. Yet the ghoul also offers a glimmer of hope. Despite everything he has been through, despite the centuries of pain and cruelty, he has not completely lost his humanity. We see it in the way he protects Lucy even when it is not in his best interest. We see it in the way he grieves for his family even after all these years. We see it in the way he destroys the GHOUL'S, choosing to let go of his vengeance rather than become the monster Vault-Tec made him out to be. The ghoul's story is not just about destruction. It is about resilience. It is about the fact that even when everything is taken from you, even when you are broken beyond repair, you can still choose to be human. This is the paradox of the ghoul. He is a monster and he is a man. He is cruel and he is compassionate. He is a nihilist and he is a believer. He is a product of his past and he is a choice. His character challenges us to look beyond labels, to see the person behind the monster, the grief behind the anger, the hope behind the despair. 4. The old world's ghost, scars as a legacy. The ghoul is not just a survivor of the Great War. He is a ghost of the old world, carrying its scars like a second skin. The old world's greed, corruption, and violence created the Wasteland, and they created the ghoul. His existence is a reminder that the past never truly dies. It lingers, in the form of radiation, in the form of ruins, in the form of the people it broke. The old world's legacy is also evident in the ghoul's relationship with Lucy. Lucy is a product of the vaults, Vault-Tec's experiment raised in a bubble of naivety and idealism, unaware of the corporation's crimes. The ghoul sees in Lucy a reflection of the old world's innocence, the innocence that was stolen from him, from his family, from everyone who died in the war. At first, he mocks her idealism, calling her a vault brat and telling her she will be dead within a week. But as he travels with her, he begins to see her as a chance for redemption, not his own, but the old world's. Lucy represents the possibility that humanity can learn from its mistakes, that it can be better than the greed and violence that destroyed the world. In the end, the ghoul does not find redemption. He does not find peace. He does not get his vengeance. But he does find something else, a reason to keep going, not for himself, but for Lucy, not for the past, but for the future. He chooses to help her find her father, to protect her from the Wasteland's cruelty, to pass on the lessons he has learned over 2 centuries. It is a small act of kindness, but it is significant. It is a recognition that even in the darkest of times, even when everything is lost, kindness still matters. The ghoul's story is a tragedy, but it is also a testament to the human spirit. It is a reminder that no matter how broken we are, no matter how much pain we have endured, we still have the power to choose. We can choose to be cruel, or we can choose to be kind. We can choose to dwell on the past, or we can choose to hope for the future. We can choose to become monsters, or we can choose to stay human. Conclusion: the cost of survival, the value of humanity. The ghoul is one of the most complex and compelling characters in the Fallout universe because he forces us to confront the cost of survival. He is a man who has paid that cost 1,000 times over with his family, his identity, his humanity. But he is also a man who has refused to let that cost define him completely. He is a monster, yes, but he is also a man. And in that duality, we see ourselves. The Fallout TV show does not judge the ghoul. It does not ask us to love him. It asks us to understand him. It asks us to see that his cruelty is a response to a cruel world, that his nihilism is a response to a world that has given him no reason to hope, that his vengeance is a response to a world that has taken everything from him. The ghoul story is not about excusing evil. It is about understanding its roots. In the end, the ghoul's greatest lesson is this: humanity is not a state of being. It is a choice. It is a choice to be kind when you have every reason to be cruel. It is a choice to hope when you have every reason to despair. It is a choice to keep going when you have every reason to give up. The ghoul makes that choice, if only for a moment, and in doing so, he reminds us that even the most broken among us can still be human. The Wasteland is a harsh, unforgiving place. It breaks people. It breaks people. It turns them into monsters, but it also reveals their true selves. The ghoul's true self is not the ruthless, nihilistic mutant we meet at the beginning of the show. It is Cooper Howard, the man who loved his family, who believed in justice, who wanted to make the world a better place. That man is still there, buried under centuries of pain and scars, and he is still fighting. So the next time you find yourself in a dark place, when you feel broken, when you feel like giving up, remember the ghoul. Remember that pain does not define you. Remember that you have the power to choose. Remember that even in the wasteland, even when everything is lost, humanity still matters. The ghoul may be a ghost of the old world, but he is also a symbol of the future. A future where we learn from our mistakes. A future where we choose kindness over cruelty. A future where we stay human no matter what. And in that future, there is hope. Hope is a rare commodity in the wasteland, but it is not extinct. It lives in the hearts of people like Lucy. It lives in the small acts of kindness between strangers. It lives in the ghost of a man named Cooper Howard, who refused to let the world turn him into a monster even when it tried its hardest. That is the legacy of the ghoul. That is the lesson of the wasteland. And that is the truth we all need to remember. No matter how deep our scars, no matter how dark our past, we still have the power to choose humanity. And that is the only thing that will ever save us.